Okay, hi, I am Dr. Sharon Furman. I'm a clinical psychologist. This is my podcast, The Flower Seed 13. Today we're going to be talking with Shota Bagaturia, who's in New York City. He will be speaking with us today about what he's doing in his work, combining, from what I understand, business, art, and culture. So, Shota, can you tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and how you've gotten to where you are, and then explain to us a little bit about what you're doing?
Sure. First of all, Sharon, thank you so much for this opportunity. Glad to be on your show. So, my name is Shota, and I'm originally from Georgia, the country in Europe. And I've been in the US for a while now. I moved here initially to get my bachelor's degree in economics. So, I studied at the City College in New York. And then I moved 2 years to live in Hawaii, which was
Why?
fascinating.
Why
Yeah.
Hawaii?
After New York, I wanted to move somewhere warm, somewhere, nice in terms of like the
Mhm.
weather. I wanted actually to go somewhere I could go in like to the beach like anytime. So that was the
Mhm.
initial inspiration. I was thinking to go to San Diego initially, but my friends told me that in San Diego you cannot go in the water anytime you want. So, you know, but Hawaii was a different story. I first moved to Kauai, so I lived one
Mm.
year on Kauai, and then the second year I lived on Maui. And then in between, I actually came back to New York City, and I ran for state senate in New York.
Oh, you
On my
did?
Yeah, I ran for state senate,
Oh,
which was yeah, on
wow, I
the
didn't know that.
I know. So while I was in Hawaii, I worked for Verizon, and one of our clients was Jeremy Harris, who was a former mayor of Honolulu. And when we
Oh,
talked, he was like, someday you should go back to New York and run for office because in New York I had experience working for several state assemblymen, and
oh,
so I had experience in policy making, and he was like, "You should do that." And in 2 weeks after he told me, because he was such a like important figure, and his advice was taken well, and I was on the plane, and I had 12 interns actually working for me for the campaign, and we
for
started. It
yourself?
was like a 5 months campaign, but it was fascinating. I mean, I didn't win the election, but I got to know so many people. We drafted,
To be
issues.
state senator of New York?
Senator of New York. Yeah, so every state has its state senate and state legislature. So I
Right.
ran for the New York State, not the federal senate, which is in DC, but
Oh,
state senate,
okay.
which is the office would have been in Manhattan, and then the second office in Albany, which is the capital of New York State. But it was
Mhm.
fascinating experience. I got to actually get to know the senator who was incumbent, and we had great relationship actually throughout the campaign, and it was very interesting for me because I'm coming from Europe, and in the U.S. I just wanted to actually know how the system worked, political system, and I was very glad to see that it works very well.
It worked
Anybody's free
very
to
well,
actually. Yeah, I
or
mean,
you?
we needed
It's
three
still.
thousand signatures to get on the ballot.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was actually a little harder in New York than that it could have been in other states because Manhattan, 40% of residents are foreign born, so they're not even citizens, so they cannot even
Hmm.
support you. But we got the signatures, we got on the ballot, and it was a great experience. And then I went
Huh.
back to Hawaii for another year.
Because it didn't work out, and you rather be in Hawaii.
Yeah, actually, the second time is my mom and my brother were visiting, and then
I
Hawaii. Actually, I was making higher salary, and
Oh,
yeah, it's just because it's a growing market. You are making. I was in sales, and I was making significantly more money than in New York, which is
wow.
strange. Yeah, and then I went back
Yeah.
and to support my family, and then I took my mom and my brother to Hawaii. My brother's name was Becca, who in 2019 passed away, and then we named the museum after him because he was a big supporter of the arts. Yeah,
Your brother,
yeah, my brother. Yeah,
his name was Becca?
his name was Becca. Yeah, Beka. Yeah,
Oh.
in Georgia, actually, names that end in are male names. So
Oh,
yeah,
no
so it's a
idea.
little different. And so yeah, so after Hawaii, I came. I went to um, Cambridge. I studied 2 years at Harvard. Um, they have international relations program, and that's where I
Hmm.
studied. And it was very interesting. It's a continuing education program that they have, and it was very interesting because they Harvard has one Harvard policy, meaning once you are in one school, you have access to all the libraries, to all the schools, all the professors, and that one Harvard mm, was very helpful to me because I worked with the business school and the law school, and we formed an antitrust association, which is basically helping smaller businesses to enter the market. And when I moved back to
Hmm.
New York, I I accidentally met this gentleman called Vince Caruso, who owns a media company and who films business interviews on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. And then he was very interested to read my thesis, and he read my thesis. And one day he was like, "You should come down to NASDAQ and see what we do." And
Hmm.
I went down because it's so interesting, just the building itself. I always have seen it outside from Times Square, but inside, I really wanted to get in. And yeah, so he invited me. We went there, and I was like, "That's exactly what I wrote the paper on, like actually helping
What did
smaller."
you write your paper on?
So basically, my paper says that over the past 40 years, the reason the salaries have not increased in the U.S. is the decrease in the number of new firms that enter U.S. market, like number of new companies that enter the market.
Hmm.
So back in 1975, more companies were created than in 2014 because my research went to up to 2014,
Oh,
which
so
is
like less competition.
yeah, less competition out of
And they don't need to raise salaries because there's less competition.
that's right, yeah. And in
Hmm.
banking especially, there were the five banks that we have today, which are mega banks like Bank of America,
Hmm.
Chase, all of those
Hmm.
large banks,
Hmm.
they control same market that 5,000 banks controlled in 1970. So from 5,000 to 5. So
Wait,
that's
wait, from 1970 to
1970 there
2026,
were in the US over 8,000 banks. Now
and
in the
now there's
US
five?
now it's less than 3. So
How did that happen?
consolidation, that's how it happened. Basically,
Right.
US at the end of the 19th century, in 1890, when there was growth of monopolies, and in old days, monopolies were called trusts. There
Hmm.
was a law created that's called Sherman Antitrust Act, and then President Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, pushed that, and he actually eliminated, monopolies, a lot of them,
Hmm.
and promoted smaller businesses, entrance of smaller companies and competition. And that's the
Hmm.
golden age of American businesses because the difference
Isn't that what
between,
capitalism is? Isn't that what capitalism is based on?
yeah, capital is supposed to be based, the benefit should be, you start your own business and then become successful and you're an entrepreneur and that's the benefit. But
And competition.
yeah,
Right.
competition is the American way, antitrust is the
Exactly.
American way. And so
Right.
Teddy guaranteed that, but then what happened in 1970 was there was academia. Actually, a lot of people from academia were influenced by big businesses, in terms of like they were getting paid basically to write
Mm.
papers that said that big was good in terms of like, what, that was the old
Oh,
thinking.
like lobbyists got into academia?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Academia. And then
Wow.
professors were writing
It's
papers saying that.
and they had no integrity to say like
Yeah, unfortunately, when
no.
it comes, yeah, I mean, it's when it comes to you know receiving large sums, I guess, um, you know,
Wow.
integrity
That's
comes
like
second.
corruption on
Unfortunately,
so many
so
levels.
yeah, so that's what happened, and then it got to the White House, and they started to slowly change the policies, um, and um, and then that's what happened, and I don't want to name any of the presidents. or administrations,
Why
because it
not?
includes both parties. At the end of the day, it's
Of
both
course.
parties are part of it, because at the end of the day, economic policy in the U.S. is very similar to, when it comes to political parties, they have similar policies. So when I got to Harvard, my research first was just discovering what was the cause of inequality. And when I, based on papers and everything I read, and then I did my research, I found that, and I did my thesis on it and proved it, that the number of firms that enter the U.S. market guarantee whether the salaries will be high or low. Because if you're a
Mm,
small company, you're making your financial decisions, where to spend, how to spend, what income you're going to give.
right.
But when you're a part of a larger company, you know you're not going to be as successful as smaller companies. So that's what I found, and that's the
You're
paper
not
that
going to
got
be as successful as smaller companies. You mean the company itself or the employees in the company?
employees. Yeah, I mean, company itself may be
Okay.
making you know
Right, right. You mean the
large sums,
employees.
but in terms of like the owners of the company, right? If you're an owner of a
Hmm.
smaller company and you're successful, you are most likely to have higher salary than an employee that's making 40,000 years at a bank, for example. So that's or if you're a bank owner, like even like African American bank ownership in 1970 was way higher, and then today, like
Mm.
it's like it's just fascinating that banks were allowed to do it. Well, there was actually also a law that said that you couldn't have interstate banking, meaning that Bank of America, for example, was a California bank. They were not allowed to go beyond the state borders
Oh.
until the 1990s, when that law was repealed, and then they were allowed to freely roam and just go anywhere they wanted. I mean, I worked for
Huh.
them, and it's a great people to be with. But in terms of the institution itself, um, it's very large, and the problem with large banks is they cannot physically lend to smaller businesses. Their loans for businesses starts at $250,000, but for you to get that loan, your income has to be, at least $5 million. So it's
Right,
like you're
exactly. So
eliminating
you
all
already have to
segment.
start here. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just all of those small businesses are just left behind, and that's the problem. But with smaller bank,
Mm.
it's different, because when it comes to lending, the key in lending is knowledge of your customer. And then smaller banks and credit unions, they know banks. They know. I'm sorry. They know their clients. They know their farmers. They know their entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So they know who to lend to. But when the
Mm-hmm.
bank is that large, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when banks have a policy to change their employees on a like a quarterly basis, so they do like on rotations, and there's like no commitment to a community, then it's really hard to land, and that's one of the reasons.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's the economic
Okay.
side.
Can I go back to I
Yeah,
have a
sure.
question, what you said earlier, that you wanted to get into politics?
Yes.
What did you want to what did you want to do in politics? Like what was your motive
Oh,
there?
well, where you're growing up in Eastern Europe, like you're everybody's politician, because there were so many
Wait,
problems. Like, yeah,
what do you
everybody is
mean?
a politician. Everybody wants to somehow influence it, because it was a when I was growing up, it was a process for a lot of the countries in Eastern Europe. And then when I
Hmm.
came here, I was just interested. Actually, while I was in Georgia, I was so interested in politics that I used to call Larry King live and ask questions on Larry King live.
I remember Larry King. You
Yes,
did?
yes. So it
What
was
did you
very
ask
interesting,
it?
because CNN had a very open policy. And I used to call like from
Oh.
Georgia, I remember, and then they used to be filters. It was like three different levels that you had to pass to actually get live, because it's like CNN. So it was
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. I was speaking to different people, and then they would, if they liked the question, then they would transfer it to second person, third person, and then they would tell me, okay, so now Larry's gonna, say your name and you ask the question, and that's all. And so it was very interesting, and so I was really got into politics through Larry, I guess. And
Through
when I came to,
Larry. That's
yeah,
funny.
and when I came in the U.S., I majored in political science, and economics.
Hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then
So,
when I started the so when and then what I wanted to develop when I moved back to New York is to honor my brother and to really open an art space because he loved art. He supported his friend artists all the time. And I was
mm,
looking at different spaces and I found this space at the Rockefeller Center on the
hmm
27th floor. It's a beautiful space. And and then we organized, we have 5 trustees and we submitted paperwork and we got approved to have a museum title. So we're a small museum, and the way museums work in the U.S., they usually develop slowly. It's mainly private donations, unlike in
hmm
Europe where you have government funding. And we do exhibitions when we're basically sponsored, and when first we like the artist, then they get sponsored, and then we do one-day exhibitions right now.
hmm
And in addition to that, to help some of the emerging artists, we started publications. So we have one publication that is called Becca Museum. So that's
hmm
for artists who've exhibited, and we believe you are in it. So that's that. And we also have another magazine called Art New York Magazine. So this is a magazine for those artists that have not been exhibited, but we really want to help them and somehow include them in a magazine. Actually, this is a very interesting edition. Current edition is with the
Huh.
Chamber Orchestra of New York.
Oh, wow.
They're
Uh-huh.
having 250th anniversary at the Carnegie Hall on November
Mm,
20th. So we collaborated with them. We have this incredible artist from Ukraine. Her name is Kate Stremouchova, and she does fine art photography. So the photographs that are taken are fine art photography, and that's why we can put them in the magazine as fine art. And then
mm,
she does profiles of conductors. So
wow. That's
this is the
interesting.
conductor, Salvatore De Vittorio.
Is
He's from
that,
Italy.
oh, that's, oh, Italy. I was going to say the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
hmm
Italian, and so we did a edition for them, and they were very glad. And then we discovered actually that only paying attention to art and only asking people to come to exhibitions does not actually help anybody if we don't bring like collectors and don't bring people who
hmm
actually own businesses, because most of the time art collectors tend to be business owners. So then we
hmm
developed another magazine called Wall Street. It's got the actual name is Wall Street New York Magazine.
hmm
So this is a business publication, and with the help of again Vince Caruso from New to the Street, the company that he has is called New to the Street. We are able to actually publish these business magazines and then distribute it during investor events, and to have businesses interested in art. We also advertise the same businesses in the art magazine. So we get like one page. We give them one page advertisement. That's what they pay for. And then once they pay for that, then they get free publication in the business magazine. And so far, it's been going well, and we'll see what happens.
Is it helping them? Is it helping the artists? Is it helping the businesses?
Yes, it's actually helping. Yeah, so it's basically it's like an ecosystem that we created, and it's helping all of them. And we'll see. So on top, and we also have another magazine. It's called Bagaturia News, and that one is basically analysis of Wall Street magazine. So they just analyzes the businesses, analyzes if they created any contract after they've been featured here, what progress they've made after they've been featured. So
Hmm.
we have that as well. But yeah, so now our newest invention is we're doing 2-day events for different countries at the Rockefeller Center. And first day we do a business forum, and usually we have like 10 companies that come from that country, and then a business forum is they present their companies, and during the presentation we have artworks displayed just to introduce them to artists as well,
hmm
and then they get to record an individual interview, 10 to 15 minute interview with the magazine, and that interview goes into the magazine, and that can be watched with a phone. You can like hover over the QR code and watch it,
hmm
Or if you get the online version, you can click on the QR code and it opens up the interview. And so far, we've had many requests. A lot of people want to be featured, and so yeah, slowly but surely we're moving forward.
That's great. Is this helping small businesses?
Yes,
Like you
absolutely,
want to
because it's so hard to get published. It's so expensive. Um, like it's so expensive.
get
And we
published?
we charge actually depending. Sometimes we charge very little. Like basically, what we charge is if you want the pricing for the business magazine, we ask for them to pay 1,500 for one page advertisement. If
Hmm.
they don't have 1,500, they're really small. Sometimes we charge as low as 450. It just like
Oh,
depends.
wow.
Yeah, so it can be
Hmm.
like huge drop because we just want to help them. And then once
Hmm.
they're there, then they get 7 page feature in the business magazine. And so that's what we do. And
Okay.
yeah.
And why do you care about this so much? Like, why do you care about helping the small businesses? And I mean, the artist, I understand, because it's connected to your brother.
Yeah, so it's just helping small businesses is important, is critical in a capitalist society. If we live in a
Yeah.
socialist society, we can have monopolies and we have a state that's a monopoly and that's it, and you don't have any.
Right.
So, but if you have a capitalist society, that's the only benefit to have a business, to be an entrepreneur. If you don't have it, your brother has it, your sister has it, somebody in the family
Uh-huh.
has it, and that's how they're able to generate wealth. When that is absent, then we have growth of oligarchs and growth of
Right.
monopolies, and then they do get to influence the policy, and that is
And
scary. I
is
mean,
that how it was in Eastern Europe?
it's how it was in Eastern Europe. Fortunately, in Georgia, it's much better now. But
Okay.
unfortunately, the same process exists in the US, meaning that some of the companies are so large in the US. I actually
Yeah.
forgot to mention that I lived 1 year in DC. And
Hmm.
uh, and we used to have clients that I used to talk to them. They were like, "Yeah, you know what? In the old days, yeah, we used to influence policy, but now we write legislature and we hand it to the lawmakers, just tell them what to vote for." I mean, I'm just yeah. So it's just like yeah, it's and it happens in the U.S. And of course, when I first heard it, I was like, "No, what are you talking about? This is America.
Hmm.
It would never happen." And
Hmm.
they were like, "Well, you're in D.C. right now." So so that's what happens when companies grow that much and they have that much money to they don't know what to spend on, and why not influence
Hmm.
government policy and then get more probably grants and subsidies from them. So and that's that's not capitalist to me. That's
No,
that's
that's not democracy.
communism, like. So and then I mean, I don't want to name any large companies, but everybody knows that there are huge companies in the US that cannot even pay proper salaries, that people have to get on like welfare.
You mean like Amazon or something?
Um, yeah, I don't know with Amazon, probably, but Walmart, for example, in the their employees, it just, and then they also, I mean, I'm just talking about large companies in general that
Hmm.
I mean, they create, and then there's another aspect. When you're, let's say, 18-year-old or 19-year-old, and you want to create something, and you're lost. It's nice to have an option to start a business, for example, or to
Hmm.
be, exploring that option. But nowadays, like, even if you start working at Walmart, I mean, I don't want to,
I mean, we're
badmouth
just using
Walmart,
it as
but
an
I'm just giving
example.
it as an example. Like,
Yeah,
what excitement do you have to have? Like,
I have no idea.
so that's another thing that a lot of the younger generation don't have that
Hmm.
chance that actually in back in 1960s and 70s people had, which means that
Right,
there
right.
was a possibility for you to start a business, possibility to start a farm, and
You could afford to go to college.
you could, yeah. So and
You
that's
can't even go
ironic
to
because
school now.
one of the variables that I use in my analysis during my thesis was education. So education
Hmm.
increased over 800% since 1970, but there's no reflection on salary. So so it's the number of firms.
Right.
Basically, the more businesses are created, the better. I did this actually at at we had a lecture, and during the lecture, I said that one of the problems is we need more companies, more banks, and then professor was like, "So your solution is to have more banks in the U.S.?" It's like we have enough banks. I'm like, exactly. That's the solution, to have more banks, because a lot of people are not aware actually that banking is that important. And then when they see a large bank every corner, they think that that's the same as having different banks. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes, that's the solution. I mean, but it's interesting that. Mm, how people view the number of companies in the U.S. But yeah, so that's my
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Do you think there is a such thing as a capitalist? Does that capitalism actually exist? Or you think it
yeah. I mean, it
existed
does exist
here,
in a sense. Like, for
not just
example,
as an
here,
ideology, but like in reality?
yeah, it exists. I mean, it's we have capitalism in the U.S. It just needs to be cleaned up and improved, and small entities need to be given a chance.
Right. I mean, you're
Because
talking about a lot of corruption
yes, yes, there is corruption, unfortunately. Um,
on all levels. I mean, a lot of levels. You're
yeah, I
seeing
mean,
even in academia that they're developing policies and influencing policies to benefit the people in power, and the people in power are paying them to write these
yes,
papers that are creating policies in legislature and so forth. That puts more
absolutely.
money in the people in power, more money in their pocket.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, but I'll say anyway. So at Harvard, we had a lecture once. And during the lecture, the lecture was about antitrust and how to make sure we have more competition in the economy. And on the panel, I didn't see a lot of the small companies. So that was one of my incentives actually to start this antitrust association, because one of the company was Google. Second company
Hmm.
was Amazon. So they were like on the panel talking about competition, telling
Right.
us
That doesn't
how
make any
they're not a
sense.
monopoly, how there's apparently so much competition in their levels. Like they were talking about, and they always, always, always bring China. We need to be large because we need to compete with China. You'll never compete with China, on a socialist level. Like they have completely different system. We have
Hmm.
capitalism. They have socialism. They're
Hmm.
subsidized by the
Hmm.
government. So,
Hmm.
there's no justification for you to say that. Okay, so we need to be large and we need to get subsidies from the government because we need to compete with China. It's just their excuse basically. And so when I saw that, I'm like, immediately we need to create a antitrust association. And during one of the lectures, Ralph Nader actually came during one of the lectures we had at the law school. And then before the lecture, I went up to him and I told him, I was like, I have this idea to start an antitrust association in Harvard. And he approved, and he's like, oh my gosh, I support you. And then during the lecture, I asked a question. I was like,
Hmm.
please tell us about antitrust. And he was like, okay, so, Shota's organizing this organization, and if anybody's interested, please go up and go to him, and then
Hmm.
he'll tell you what to do. And after the lecture, all these people heard, all these law students came up to me, and they were like, we want to be part of it. And so we got great supports. We got like 19 students that want to be part of it. And then we scheduled a visit to Senator Elizabeth Warren's office, because she supports antitrust, and she was
Hmm.
one of the professors actually at Harvard Law School before
Hmm.
becoming a senator. And so her office also got interested, and at the end of the day, we were able to form the organization and actually have healthy debates of how to promote competition. And that organization exists today. They have, multiple members,
Hmm.
presidents. So we created a new industry basically inside Harvard. It was so satisfying to be able to actually create something, and that is exceptional to America actually, to be able to go to such a prestigious institution and for them to actually allow you to, come up with new ideas, and not only ideas, but for you to actually implement it. And that is fascinating, and that is
Hmm.
truly inspiring.
And it's working?
Absolutely, yes, it's working, and there are constantly, guests who talk. Sometimes just discussion and talking and being at the table makes a lot of change.
Hmm. And what would you tell people that want to start small businesses? What would you tell them? What would you say how would you encourage them to go about doing that?
First of all, I would encourage them actually to use all the available tech tools that are available online. For example, I mean, I don't want to promote any company. I'm not getting paid by them, but lately we've been using Canva a lot, and like apps like that or online. The other thing we use is Zoho, Zoho.com for emails, because it works seamlessly and integrates well with the company. So you can have like a company website, let's say on Canva, and then you can have a business email through Zoho, for example. So you have two businesses at the same time, and then just form a website. That's my first advice, and then form a
Hmm.
business email, and try not to email people
Hmm.
with Gmail and other, because people don't take you as seriously as when you're emailing from an actual business email, especially that there are so many scams and so many offers out there
That's
that,
true.
if you have a business email, they trust more than the others. So
Hmm.
that's the first thing I would. And it
Okay.
takes actually less than an hour to create the website, probably less than an hour to go on Zoho and create a business email. And the pricing is not that high. I think it's like $18 for the email and $15, but monthly for the website. So once that's created, then social media is, of course, for you to create, is accessible,
Hmm.
depending if it's an art. If it's like visual, you have lots of visuals, then I would suggest probably Instagram for social media. And but I would, doesn't matter what industry you're in, LinkedIn actually is very helpful. LinkedIn.
Hmm. You think so?
Yeah, I mean, to me, actually, now, when we go to these events anymore, I don't even. I mean, business cards are great and they look professional and everything, but at the end of the day, not many people carry them. And LinkedIn is a great way to just, you know,
Hmm.
connect them right away. And then once I connect with them, it's so easy because I have recent connections. And next morning, that's another advice: follow up. Always follow up next day, or the day
Hmm.
after, and I just follow up with them, and it was nice meeting you, and that's all. So those small details, little website in the beginning, email, and let's say LinkedIn, and maybe some Instagram
Hmm.
to start a business, and then
Hmm.
um, you have to do it, like you have to post, and you have to engage people, and preferably meet people in person.
Hmm. And how do you suggest meeting people in person these days when people are so?
There are multiple actually. Here I'm going on my phone. I have, for example, Eventbrite. It's like an
Hmm.
application, so you
Right.
tap on different events, and there are other ones as well.
Hmm.
There are multiple ones. So yeah, like the other one is Luma. It's called Luma. So that's
Hmm.
it's a new one, and it's very useful
I've
as
heard
well.
of it.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
use those two to like attend events. And then what I
Uh-huh.
would suggest: host an event yourself, organize an event yourself. Rent a conference room and organize it
Hmm.
yourself, so you are one of the leaders of the
Hmm.
you have the initiative, or partner with somebody, and make a joint event. And so that's how. And then offer people sponsorship. They can actually sponsor, maybe pay some funds. You can create pricing, and they can be also part of it. So they can be
Hmm.
sponsors. And once you're a sponsor, it's already a different level. And you also get a different perspective. You get like perspective that you created it, so it's very satisfying.
Hmm.
So that's what I would suggest.
Okay. Sounds good. I mean, it sounds like a lot of people need that encouragement these days because most people are feeling
Yes.
stuck
Yeah, and
and they
there's
feel
so much
no upward
opportunity.
mobility.
there's a lot of opportunities, and in terms of
What do
on the
you?
competition policy, there have been changes made.
Uh
When
huh.
we actually invited one of the judges from DC to this Harvard Law School Association, and that judge became Attorney General of the U.S. And then there was an executive order signed encouraging competition. Talking about that was 5 years ago, but even now, the competition policy is still out there, and on that level, work is being done. And now it's just up to us to actually start these businesses and just to move forward. And there are lots of possibilities to do it.
Okay. And that last question, at
Yeah.
least that's coming to mind right now. How do you feel like? I mean, AI seems to be taking over a lot of jobs, and replacing people, like particularly like in the entertainment industry and in the tech world, and I guess a lot of industries. And it seems like those jobs that are getting lost, like what would you tell those people
I
that
would
can't
tell them
find
that
work now,
use
that their skills feel obsolete now?
yeah, I would tell them to use AI for their advantage. And then if you work for a larger company and it affects you, start your own business. You know, start your
Start
own
your own
business and
business.
use that AI, because AI can do lots of things. Use that AI to help your business instead. And
Okay.
yeah, that's would be my advice.
Or develop, do you feel like they need to develop new skills? Because if those skills have been replaced by AI and they feel like their skills are of no use
In my
anymore.
opinion, I mean, we actually interview, many companies,
Uh-huh.
like both at the New York Stock Exchange, and I help that company new to the street I mentioned. And AI is not there yet. Is not going to be there for another 5 years. It's a lot of it is a hype, and that companies need to actually raise money. So it's not going to happen that fast. It may take up to 5 to 10 years for it to actually affect, in my opinion, a lot of people, because we've tried using a lot of the AI tools and they're very behind. So I
Okay.
don't think there needs to be any panic. And at the end of the day, we need robots and AI, all of that for humans. So humans have to take advantage of it. It's not the other way around. And
Right.
then that's why we need to encourage smaller entities, because the more small entities there are, the less the influence large business has on the government. So yeah, in my opinion, start your own business and use the AI for your benefit.
Do you have any thoughts about the entertainment industry that's had a ton
Yeah,
of cuts
entertainment,
and
even actually in arts, like entertainment arts, even in
uh
entertainment industry, AI is not there. Like even making a simple commercial, a lot of the times you can actually tell the difference between an AI and between a human that agency
but
that
it seems like these companies don't care. They just want to take the cheaper route and take AI
they
and not
do,
have a
but the
human do
quality
it.
is not the same.
No, it's not.
So when it's not the same, it's like people know. And why would let's say, buy products with somebody who I know? And there's another thing, I think human work will be more appreciated in this sense, especially
Hmm.
in the arts, because
Hmm.
there used to be actually a lot of push for digital art,
Hmm.
but that what that did, that actually raised prices for human made art. So
Hmm.
so that's what happens, because at the end of the day, when you have abundance of something, the price goes down.
Hmm.
The more AI we have and more products that AI will create, the price of those products will go down naturally. And then the
Hmm.
price of human made products will go up.
Right. So people have to be willing to want to buy quality over quantity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So to encourage someone, I would tell them what to start their own business and try to sell quality over quantity.
Yes,
Like, for
absolutely.
example, someone in entertainment that's lost their job because the company rather take the cheap version than the less quality version and use AI. So one thing would be, well, start your own thing and try to
Start
sell
your own
quality
thing
over
and
quantity.
start like your own movement. Start your own movement, because no AI can replace an artist that has his or her movement. And because
Hmm.
you're meeting people in person, like you're human, AI can never do that.
Right, right, right.
AI
Okay, good
and
points.
AI will always stay, in my opinion. AI it will always stay AI in the sense that it's not a human creation, and the humans naturally will prefer human products over AI. You know, if somebody's struggling and they
Hmm.
really want to, let's say, buy something non-human, that's understandable. But over the long term, once people actually um, have a possibility actually to acquire human-made products, I think they'll go with that, because I mean even now like, no, it's been over a year, right? The hype, AI hype, and it's
Hmm. At least, yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's moving that fast, and and yeah, absolutely. So I do prefer, but
Hmm.
AI can be used by smaller businesses for their advantage, for them to be more efficient.
Right.
Yeah, for
Right.
example,
Right.
submitting grant applications, submitting, you know, you can have AI actually formulate. You know, it's not gonna write an actual application for you, but it'll give you hints. It'll give you some ideas. It can give you like
Hmm.
some. It can be helpful. So
Hmm.
definitely,
Okay. So it's a tool, not a replacement.
yes, that's what I say.
Yeah.
The tool.
Yeah. Okay.
At the end
Well,
of the day,
thank you.
the
I
large
think,
companies
yeah,
use it as a tool. So why not small companies use it as a tool as well, but for their
sure.
own advantage?
Right. Right. Well, thank you for sharing all that. I think that's really encouraging. And I think people need to feel encouraged right now,
Yeah,
especially where people feel sort of um, without agency.
yeah, absolutely. There's so
Yeah.
many possibilities, and with the AI help, it can be even easier to start a business.
Okay. Good to know. Anything else you want to add or anything before we
Anything
stop
else? Well,
for
I would like to
today?
thank you again for this opportunity. It's wonderful to talk to you, and wishing you good luck with the podcast, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Shota. Thank you. All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.